I moved to India in June 2018. We met Jashan. Kshitij met Jashan in September, October.
Yeah, August, September, yeah.
August, September, and then in November we asked Jashan to join us, and at that time we were nobody. We didn't have money, we didn't have investment, we didn't have a business plan, we didn't have anything. Why did you join Bluesky in November 2018? And we were not even Bluesky then.
You guys were Breezos. We were Breezo then. So why I joined? So when I graduated, so I was graduating in 2018, and I did my first serious internship in January 2018, before the end of my year or fourth year. And so I did that internship. I found out a couple of things. Then I shifted to another company where I met Kshitij. Now I was working there and I realized that I didn't like the work quite much. So I was planning on changing the job from there and moving to Bangalore, because that's where the hub was. That's where the IT hub was. And so Kshitij one day calls me randomly and he's like, come to home. And Abhilasha was sitting there. I had no idea who she was. I was like, okay. So Kshitij showed me what he was working on. I was like, nice. So he's like, do you want to come on board? I was like, okay, but what about like stuff? So Abhilasha said, I can promise you 3 months of salary. Post that, I cannot say. Like, it depends on the funding and etc. So back of the mind, I was like, okay, I was anyway planning on moving to Bangalore from January. So I was like, it's just a small gig. Let's see it as a gig and let's try it. Let's see what it can do. And let's see, after 3 months, I will anyways go to Bangalore. So it was a risk for me. It was like risk worth taking. I was like, but during the first week of January, during the second week of January, when I started looking at the air quality data, I was so scared. I was like, this is the air I'm breathing, right? And I was so scared of it. So I was like, maybe somebody should do something about it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I was also like, why am I sitting here? Like, I should go out. So yeah, it was a mix of things. I think February first week, Abhilasha quit her job. And yeah, it was a sign, okay, we're doing this. Okay, this is going to go long.
Yeah, it was, I think a lot of people have a very big misconception about startups, that they know what they're doing. And that's completely untrue. And then Sahil joined in January of third week of January. And like, we were still becoming something. We had no clue. So it's very important that people trust. And I find it very ironical that people go for jobs in traditional big companies, because there's nothing to do. There's nothing to explore. There's no fun. There's no challenge. There's no uncertainty. And at least for me, because we had no clue what we were doing, there was just so many elements of fun. There was a lot of fear. We had to move tables and chairs. We had no money. Every month when I had to pay everyone's salary, I used to get very scared, because I had bank balance and it was deteriorating and deteriorating and deteriorating. And at one point I was like, mere paas rent pay karne ke paise nahi bachne wale hain. Okay, so the next question is, when did you feel in that whole time, so it's been almost 1.5 years, when did you feel a sort of conviction that, okay, I think this is cool, that this can go somewhere?
Oh, so when we started talking about using satellite data in ML, I got this feeling, okay, now we're doing something. Like, now this is making much more sense. Like, we started off as a visualization company, if you remember, like, we're gonna do visualization and we're gonna sell visualizations. I mean, that was very naive. Still, like, not that bad of an idea, but very naive to what we're doing right now. So when Bluesky started taking shape from Breezo, which was around mid-Feb. When we're discussing, okay, what we're gonna call it, then we started like Bluesky, and that was the same time when Sahil had been there for a couple of weeks or more than couple of a week, and we started looking at satellite data, and we started integrating it that was when things started becoming a little clear, and was like, okay, we're gonna do something big now at that time. But so 3-4 months down the line, when we finally won MIT Solve,
Yeah.
that was the thing when okay, we had an approach in our mind, and this is what we're gonna do. And that idea, somebody liked that idea, and that someone was from MIT. So now we're like actually gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like that was the time okay, Bluesky has established, it has made its first footstep. Like we're on the ground now, it's not in the air, the idea is not in the air anymore. We have certain foothold to stand on.
It's so weird. Like if Sahil wouldn't have joined, or maybe Sahil was
Yeah.
not so passionate about satellite data, we would never have reached here. So people always are like, oh, it's founders. I mean, obviously, Shidaj and I had been looking at satellite data, but Sahil joined, and he was the one who started actually doing research. And pehle 3 mahine to he was only doing research. Like we did not know how
Yeah.
to do anything. And I find it so funny that, you know, he was also just fourth year of college. He didn't really know anything. We didn't know anything, but we were like satellite data analyze karenge. But yeah, like I feel when we started meeting people in June, July, August, and talking to the people who were actually doing that analysis, we're like, wait, you're nowhere more smarter or more aware or more informed than us.
Exactly.
You're kind of as lost as we are. So do we have a better chance at figuring it out than you? Probably yes. So let's do it. Yeah. So that was definitely the one. Did you get bored because you were the only one for quite some time? You were like, wait, where is my colleagues? There's no office. You're working in a dining table in somebody's house. Were you scared? Like, what if we were like thieves?
I mean, I was, so it's both ways. What if you thought I was a thief?
Especially with the beard and all.
Yeah. So I always, so no, I never felt bored. The work was quite overwhelming, and it has been becoming more overwhelming throughout, like for 1.5 years. So it never got me thinking, what if there was another person who I could sit and discuss. So as I was saying, I didn't feel alone for the most of the time. I did. There was this overwhelming work that I had to do, and overwhelming upskilling that I'm still chasing, and my like deadlines in my mind that are like, okay, I have to get it done. I have to get it done this month, next month, so on. Remember when we're doing TWA, which was a very new thing in February. Yeah, and we collaborated with like people from Google Chrome team, and they're like, okay, you're doing this. They're like, yeah, we're doing that. And so overall, there was so much work that I didn't have time to think about, okay, somebody's gonna come or take this work from me. I just have the work and I have to do it.
Yeah. Well, I got this one question. I don't know how can we answer this question, but the question is, how did we know that you were the right person to hire?
I mean, you have to answer it. Okay, I don't.
Actually, at that time, it was like, we were so small. This was like such a basic idea. So anybody listening to us that we're trying to do this, and then having that sort of trust and having some sort of skills was like a big thing. Matlab, who's willing to work with like, the salary was really basic. Also, I did not know how much money I had and how many days I would be able to pay your salary. So yeah, it was like you trusting us and us trusting you.
Yeah, so I've worked with Kshitij for I think 1 month. So he had a understanding of what I can and can't do, right?
Yeah.
So he just told me, okay, this is the stuff you have to do and you can do it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, if you believe I can do it, then I can do it. Then in my mind, I was like, okay, I can do this for 3 months and let's see later what happens or what doesn't happen.
How was the upskilling journey, and do you think it would be possible to have this kind of growth rate anywhere else?
So when I graduated, I already had a job from L&T, Larsen and Toubro, and that was in Mumbai, MNC corporation. I think 200 people from our college were going there. I was like, no, I'm not going. I'm not going again with the herd. The last time I went with the herd was when I started doing IIT JEE in Chandigarh, and I was like, I'm not making that same mistake again, right? So I thought I'll go for a startup where I have more responsibility and I'm more on the front lines. Like I'm not sitting back somewhere maintaining stuff. Started off as a front end developer because that was the only thing that was available, right? I didn't think of like what I want to do. I just jumped in and I said, let's see what I can do, right? How I'll learn like swimming. And so I started off with front end, and then this TWO thing, which was newly on the market, I started building that, and it was a good challenge. Like I even went into Android development for 2 weeks and stuff. But any other different company where they will not be so much open to experimenting stuff. Like they will not let you hear. They will not hear your opinion because you're just out of college. You don't know shit what development goes and what doesn't go. So yeah, most of the time, most of the companies won't hear your opinions that easily after you have established some kind of work. But I was like trying out things. Then I went from front end to back end, and I started writing scrapers for all that data that we were writing, right? And so there was so there's one very particular problem that we remember was that since we're downloading 200 stations data, it was like blocking. It was becoming a bottleneck because it took too much time executing that program. So that's when I read about parallel requests and async in Node, which is not something very like amazing or anything, but still learning it from very like not somebody telling me, and learning it on my own and implementing was a great experience. And it started, and all of these things, like when I implemented that, and then we started looking into AWS, which was like from in January we were doing front end engineering, React, which is like considered very basic in software development, which you can start like from day one. And 4 5 months down the line, we're working with AWS Cloud and CloudFormation and AWS Lambdas, which is considered very like intermediate stuff. From like 6 months from this front end engineering to this Lambda and writing CloudFormation templates and executing them was a huge jump. And we're still making that jump, and we're still doing it. And even after 1 year of implementing those, and now we show our architecture, me and Kshitij, or everyone else who's on the team, like we've shown our architecture to a couple of engineers who are way more experienced than us, who are CTOs of big companies, and they look at it and they say it's a decent job. Like for and that has been a great boost to me. Yeah, okay, we know nothing. We knew nothing. We talked to people. We talked to people who were more experienced. We tried out many things. So many things were left on the way. And now we're able to stand with those people and have a conversation about what we have built. And they are also intrigued by that conversation. They can suggest us things. They say, okay, you have done a decent job. This is how you can improve, or this is great. Like that's so overall the journey has been like that development.
Yeah. So I have another fun question, and this is like more related to just like non-tech stuff. So yes, you've seen a lot of tech growth and architecture and coding, but you've also seen like non-tech. You've seen our funding journey, our fundraising journey, and like the amounts of pitches and coming back, and the anger and the conflict and the fights, and also like trying to figure out the processes, Trello versus Asana.
Yeah.
Onboarding on Notion, Slack, like all of these like components. Like even from a making things happen perspective, like management perspective, I look at some of the older firms where I used to work and the kind of softwares and tools they used, and I sometimes feel like everybody's stuck in like 2010 or something, because there's so much efficiency. So what was this non-tech learnings, and how was that for you? Like, was it fun or was it boring?
Oh, there was so much. So back when I was back when I started doing coding, and back when I thought, yeah, okay, I'll join a startup. So I had this very focused mission that I'm gonna be a developer. I'm gonna be like only do coding and not work with Excels, or I'll not like send mails and stuff. I'll only write code on Git and push it on Git. But I don't think overall that's very practical. Like if you want to learn more things, if you want to understand what your business is or what part of the tech actually solves, if you're just building tech, it's useless. You can build something amazing, and if it's not used by anyone, it's just stupid. But right, but so a lot of things, like I started pitching, and although I had stage fear, but I went to Hyderabad on this Facebook event, where I was like, "ठीक है." Now I understand. So sitting there with a lot of like much older people than me, like 30 plus, where they had an idea, and they had great ideas as well, in finance, in health, right, in IoT. But I understood a lot from them, and a lot of fear was gone. Like, you say ki, okay, I've just graduated, I don't know much. That was not the case. I
Mhm.
mean, if you step out and you talk to those people, they are very humble. They will let you, they will understand you, and they will let you share your idea, and they will give you feedback on that. So that stage fear part was gone. I did some pitching. I learned a lot from Kostu, how to design a pitch, how to structure things. Like, if you're writing a document, if you have to make someone something understand, how do you write that? From code, we learn a lot. Like, even in code, there's a similar term that you have to make the code so dumb that anyone can understand it. So similar thing was in pitches and writing documents and emails, that you have to make it so explicit and so dumb that anyone can understand it.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of management involved. Communication was the one thing that I learned. Like, why communication is so important. If you have 5 people team working and they're all doing separate things, and there is no one to have a shared, there is no one a single way where they can communicate. They will all be doing different things, and at the end of the day, it will not result in anything.
Yeah.
Right. And since we were so young and everybody was so humble, it was easy for everyone to just come up to us and say like, I can't do this, or maybe even better, okay, okay, I know there is a better way to do it, so let me just try that.
Yeah.
Right. And we kept on going back to those people, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and you have to help us.
Yeah.
So
100%.
that was very different from what I would say ki learning just like practical knowledge of coding and stuff. There was a lot. I remember Abhilasha mentioning these things. So one thing I remember is back channeling. I never I saw that. I don't know how normal it is, or how it's like easy it is, how to talk about those strategy channels and stuff. But for me, it was like it was like a revelation. Okay, back channeling. I thought we would just send one email and forget about that email until someone mails us back. So I thought things happened that way. I was like, no, they don't happen that way.
Actually, that's a big difference I've seen in tech versus non-tech people. Like, even when we are like interviewing and everything, especially when I interview, I feel a lot of tech people are like, I'll send a resume and I'll get
Hmm.
a job. That is not how the world works. That is not
Yeah.
how anything works. You have to do some sort of a persuasion, simply so that people understand who you are. They give you a mind
Hmm.
space. You come on their radar, because on an
Hmm.
average, I get 100 emails a day, so I don't care. And then you have to like get onto the radar for people to create an interest, curiosity, respond, sort of do a little back channeling, quote unquote. It's like, okay, so she's coming from here, she's coming from here, this person has also talked about her, okay, she must be up to something, let me see what she does. Because
Hmm.
when you just send an email to somebody, that doesn't guarantee that they will have any interest in it, especially when you're in a tech business or in this deep tech business where you have to do so much explanation. Like, you're not selling a chair, so it's
Hmm.
not easy to say, what do we do?
Hmm.
You can't be like, hey, this is a chair, this is an ad, buy it. There's a lot of layers of complexities attached to it, which sort of makes it layered. Okay, I have one really fun question for you, which is, did you feel like you hit some sort of bottlenecks from time to time, like you were just not able to solve some things and that was very frustrating?
Yeah, I mean, we did hit some bottlenecks, but it was mostly because we didn't know stuff. We were still learning. So
Yeah,
some problems were really frustrating. We just hit like, this is still not happening. This is
yeah,
something we can't do. And that was mainly in hiring as well. Like, we faced a lot of challenge in hiring.
yeah,
Either people were not applying, or the people who were applying expected too much, or they didn't meet our expectations. They were coming from different background. So most of the challenge was hiring, and it's still there. I mean,
many of them were very underskilled also, and
yeah,
so underskilled with oversized expectations about
oversized
themselves.
expectation.
Like, I look back at my career and I feel like, oh my god, so many of my jobs I did nothing. I got paid to do nothing and I was complete dumb, right? So a lot of people just think that they have a degree, so they are useful. But I mean, we've had a lot of negative work. We have had a lot of employees who have created negative
Hmm.
work, and that's just so stressful because we're young and we're small. So when people create negative work, it stresses out the entire team. And oh
Oh,
my god, we were very stressed out at some months.
At some points, yeah, negative work. The concept of negative work was very alien to me. I now understand it so well. If someone comes and you have to manage that person, and if you're putting in more time managing that person, and you can do your job, and that's like that was another level revelation to me as well.
Yeah, I realized negative work with couple of hires that I did, wherein like when I would give them work and it would not happen, or they would have more demands of like inputs or feedbacks from me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would do it myself in this time, 10 times better. Can you just like not? So a lot of those elements, I feel like when we were in undergrad, we didn't realize it. So
Yeah.
we were never taught about these aspects of work, wherein I really liked how Tej came to us and Tej just figured out work for herself. She's like, you are lost as hell. You are so overworked. Let me just help you and do everything and help you with everything. And she started taking responsibility after responsibility after responsibility and executing them with an absolute finesse. Like very, very few people are able to command that sort of skill. There is a fun question. Can you organize a mock pitching session along with various other founders for newbies like me? Guys, we have a lot of our pitches on YouTube, so please check them. They're on Bluesky Thinking, and we will put more on YouTube on Bluesky Thinking, and you can watch Jashan and me and Shitij and all of us doing absolute blunders. But my most biggest advice for pitches is like feel free to do mistakes. I mean, if I look at the pitches I did in 2019, I was like, oh my god, they were so bad.
Yeah, you only get better by doing.
Yeah, like it's completely all right to do mistakes. What advice would you give a fresh grad self? Actually, I did want to talk about that with you. That with the hindsight, what kind of advice would you give to your version in fourth year, your fourth year self?
So I was on the right track of like choosing a startup over a MNC or a big corporation to do. And if you are like, I can only say about the computer science graduate and somebody who's doing computer science. I don't know if it can be generalized to other graduates, engineering graduates as well. I was like, find a work that excites you. Don't care about money for a few years. Like money is something you can always learn. But if you make your base very sloppy and you started working, let's say 20 lakh, and then you'll not be able to switch for a 10 lakh job if you feel excited about the idea. That it becomes the money becomes your shackles.
Yeah,
It will hold you from taking risks.
yeah,
When I did my first internship, I was like, I'm being overpaid. Like I don't do stuff and I still get. Even though I did stuff, I was like, this is not this much value. And
yeah,
when I did my second internship, that's where I like went back. Like even though I had 6 months of experience and I could get a full time role, I went for a lower amount of money. It's like because the work was more exciting, right? And overall, still, matlab, Abhilasha, I don't care about money, but you don't have to reduce my salary. I don't know how much I'm worth. Abhilasha knows it better, right? I'm still learning that thing
very
from him, how to
valuable.
ascertain my own value,
It's
right?
a very fun, it's a complicated thing even for me. Like, how do you, because I have to manage cash flows of the company
Yeah,
and I have no answer. Like, I don't know how much money we will make this year or next year. Right. So when I am deciding salaries for everybody, it's just so complicated. It's like, wait a minute, the only fear I have in life is that we will run out of money and I will not have money to pay the salaries. And that is where I feel like a lot of founders are always like very conservative on like, paying high salaries because we do calculation of when the money will run out. I think as soon as most founders, when they hit profitability, like Zerodha has hit good profitability,
yeah,
then people, especially good founders, like, I know not all companies across the world are so equitable. And there are many companies which have reserved much more higher value, like monetary value for senior management than the entire teams. But like then some companies are very, very equitable, especially like some of the firms that founders that we work with. And that's sort of our value system also. But the biggest fear is we have no clue when we will make money and how much money we will make and when we will run out of it. So we are like shooting in the dark completely.
yeah. So one more point on that: choose an organization which you are able to understand, which is transparent enough to absorb you.
Yeah.
Like there is so much going on in Blue Sky that I don't understand, but if I want to understand, I can go and talk to Yashika, or I can come and talk to you, right?
Yeah.
But I have so much work that I don't have time to go and do it. So I think, yeah, as you said initially, you have to trust the organization that you are going to work for.
Yeah.
If you don't have any liabilities, I would say start with something that excites you. If you
Yeah.
have liabilities, then
Yeah, if you have liabilities,
what?
then best of luck.
If you have
I don't
loans
know
and
like
stuff,
how people do with liabilities. Like if I had an education loan from my grad school education, then there was no way I would ever be able to do this thing. And like what you said, right? Like I got my first job after graduating. I got in Wipro and they were paying me really nice, right? But I had no work, zero, zero. I didn't even need to go to office. So I was very worried 6 months down the line that I have acquired no skill at all. Hence, I'm completely unemployable. And if I continue to work here on something I'm getting no work, then 2 years from today, why would anybody want to work with me? I've learned nothing.
yeah.
Right?
So we had this very good example of a candidate who was earning really well, and but this thing about that person was that person was working in this one company for last 2 years, and her only skill set was focused on what she could deliver in her company. So
Yeah.
we couldn't employ her because her skill set was focused solely on that. So what the point I'm making is develop a skill set. Don't run behind the money.
Yeah.
Develop a skill set which is like which the people want, which anybody would want you to have.
Yeah. No, my first manager, who's also now part of our company, said this to me that learning is greater than earning, and earning will always follow learning. And which is kind of true because like I've made very erratic money in my life. Like I made 7,000 rupees a month also, and then quite a lot a week also. And there is no direct correlation. I think like it really depends on opportunities, markets, some of the economics, and everything. Okay, so two last questions, which is, and if guys you have a question here, just send me. One is, did you become environmentalist along this line?
Oh yeah. So I mean that's mostly because of your influence. I knew the climate change was a thing and I knew it was happening, but I didn't know on what scale and how it can like affect us down 10 years or 20 years down the line. But when I hear Abhilasha talking, ki, okay, we might not be here like 15 years down the line. So I'm like, let's just do what the best we can for now.
Yeah.
Let's not the environmentalist I have. I think I'm becoming more aware of about everything overall.
Mhm.
Like being part of this organization where we talk about not just technology and about world as well. I've become more aware about a lot of issues.
Yeah. Do you think you will be able to work for something where there is no impact? Like impact is just not at all a consideration at all.
No, I don't think I'll be able to work there. I think then I'll be like, it's just building glorified poop, I guess. I don't know what
Yeah.
another analogy for it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree to that one. Okay. And also, one more question. Because you work with a female boss, I mean,
Mhm.
technically Kshitij, but Kshitij rolls up to me.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of females in the organization,
Yeah.
and you've had to interact with a lot of them since day one, right? There have
Mhm.
always been like some really good girls in the firm. Uh, do you think you've become kind of feminist as well?
So even in my overall life, like even in my social circles, I've had more female friends than male friends. I don't know why that is, but and so I have become more feminist. Yeah, I've when I start hearing the stories and I see ki, okay, there is still inequality in the society, and there's still a lot that the world has to catch up.
Yeah.
Like we say a world is inching towards like more equality, but there are still a lot of issues that needs to be addressed today. So
Yeah.
yeah, even in the tech team we tried very hard to hire a female developer, but we couldn't find anyone. Like so that was also one thing. But on the same thing, it's very weird when I go to someone ki, okay, I need a female developer, and they look at me like, why do you need a female developer? Okay, my guy, if my boss says she needs a female developer, then it's okay.
Yeah.
Like yeah, the problem is still there, and I keep on hearing about it. So I become more. I mean, there's always room for more wokeness.
Uh, we've got two questions from the people, which is what was your biggest learning curve at Bluesky Analytics?
Okay, biggest learning curve. technical, non-technical. So in technical, I've explained like I went on from a front-end engineer to of like full-on cloud. I'm doing stuff like I'm building databases, APIs, and doing a lot of stuff. In non-technical part, I remember Abhilasha once said to me, ki, okay, back when he started, like it was after 1 year exactly. After
Yeah.
1 year, when we went to Cyber Up, we had that
Yeah.
discussion where with like everybody will be like, you said, ki, okay, I'll give you this much amount of money. What are you gonna do
Take a
with it?
$1 million. What
Right?
did you do?
Yeah, that's when Abhilasha said ki 1 year ago Jashan didn't used to say anything. Like he would speak 2 words, then he would just do whatever he was doing. And now he's like equal to he's able to contribute and he used to talk about stuff. So I think the biggest learning curve is that now I have something to say. Now I can say stuff and like now I can understand people. I can also listen. I know what kind of questions to ask.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of question needs to be answered in the world or in anywhere overall. So that's been the biggest learning curve. I am overall I have more questions than I had in the 1.5 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's essentially a very good thing.